It's Armistice Day.
Huh.
A time to remember, I guess, all those sacrifices, from past wars. And yet here we are in the 21st century, and we're seeing this conflict in Ukraine that has some really unsettling parallels to World War I trench warfare. And on top of that, artificial intelligence is shaping the modern battlefield. I mean, can you imagine witnessing trench warfare in this day and age, let alone one that's, intertwined with AI?
It really is a stark contrast. Yeah, on one hand, you see those images coming out of Bakhmut in Ukraine, and you could almost mistake them for scenes from the Somme 100 years ago, just brutal, entrenched battles over every inch of ground.
It really is mind-boggling that this kind of fighting, so intense, almost archaic, is still happening in our modern world.
Yeah, and the human cost is just devastating. We don't have exact figures, of course, because it's still unfolding, but the losses in Ukraine are already drawing some pretty chilling parallels to the casualties we saw at Verdun in World War I. Over 700,000 soldiers perished there. It's just a harsh reminder that some aspects of war tragically remain unchanged.
It's heartbreaking, honestly. But then you add AI on top of that, and it's playing such a significant role in this conflict. It's almost like we're watching two different wars unfold at the same time.
Yeah, precisely. AI is transforming warfare in ways we're only starting to understand. Take, for example, how the Ukrainians are using AI for reconnaissance.
Huh.
They can analyze all this satellite imagery and sensor data in real time to get a really clear understanding of what's happening on the battlefield. This is something that was totally unimaginable in past conflicts.
So it's like having this constantly updated bird's eye view of the entire battlefield. That must be a huge advantage.
Absolutely. This AI-powered intelligence lets them pinpoint enemy positions, track movements, even predict potential attacks before they happen. And it doesn't stop there. The Ukrainians are also using AI to guide their weapon systems,
Huh.
allowing for incredibly precise strikes with very minimal collateral damage.
So AI is actually helping to reduce civilian casualties.
Yeah.
Even in the middle of such intense fighting, that's an unexpected outcome.
It is. And it's also worth noting that these Ukrainian AI systems are designed to be very adaptive. They're constantly learning from new data, adjusting their algorithms on the fly. This gives them a real edge over the Russians.
So it's not just about having AI, it's about having AI that can think on its feet.
Exactly. But perhaps the most game-changing development, and this raises a ton of ethical questions, is the emergence of autonomous drones, powered by AI. These drones can operate independently, making decisions about targets and engagements based on their programming.
Wait, hold on. Autonomous drones? That sounds like something out of a movie. Are we talking about machines making life or death decisions without any human intervention?
That's the reality we're facing, and it raises profound questions about accountability, control.
Mhm.
The very nature of warfare is being challenged. How do we ensure that these autonomous systems are being used ethically and responsibly?
That's a huge question, and frankly, I'm not sure anyone have a clear answer to it. It seems like once this technology is out there, it's almost impossible to control its spread, to verify who's using it and for what purpose.
You're absolutely right. The nature of AI makes it extremely challenging to regulate. It's not like traditional weapon systems, which are, physical objects. AI can be developed and deployed by anyone with the right expertise and resources, including non-state actors. This raises the real possibility of AI falling into the wrong hands and being used for some very nefarious purposes.
That's a chilling thought. So are we saying that AI could actually make wars more devastating and unpredictable?
It's definitely a possibility. While AI might reduce some human casualties because of the precision strikes and real-time intelligence, it also introduces these risks of escalation, unintended consequences, potentially even losing human control over the use of force. We're entering this new era of hybrid warfare, where the lines between traditional combat and cyber attacks, economic pressure, and information warfare are all getting blurred.
So the battlefield is becoming less about physical territory and more about disrupting critical infrastructure, manipulating information flows, waging war in the digital realm.
Precisely. And this is where AI plays a central role, coordinating and amplifying these multifaceted attacks, making modern wars more intricate and complex than ever before.
Wow, this is heavy stuff. I think we all need a minute to process this.
I agree. It's a lot to digest. But it's crucial to understand how these seemingly disparate elements are all connected, the brutal realities of trench warfare, something that seems like it should be in the past, and this rapidly evolving technology of AI that's shaping the future of conflict.
It's like history is repeating itself, but with a futuristic twist. We'll be back in a few minutes to delve deeper into what all this means for the future of warfare.
Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in all the technology and stuff. But we can't forget that AI is having a real impact on people's lives. People who are caught in the crossfire.
Yeah, you're right. We can't lose sight of the human element in all of this talk about algorithms and drones and things.
Exactly. And in Ukraine, we see how AI is shaping the experiences of soldiers and civilians. So imagine you're a soldier, hunkered down in a trench, constantly on edge. Well, with AI assistance, they might get real-time warnings about incoming artillery fire, giving them those precious seconds to take cover.
Wow, that's incredible. It's like having an extra set of eyes watching out for you, constantly analyzing the battlefield for threats.
Exactly. But it goes even beyond just awareness. AI is actually changing how combat works. AI-guided weapon systems can carry out strikes with pinpoint accuracy, minimizing collateral damage and reducing the risks to friendly forces.
So in a way, could we say that AI has the potential to actually make war less destructive, at least in terms of unintended consequences and civilian casualties?
That's the hope. But it's important to acknowledge there are also potential downsides. Some experts even argue that AI could actually make conflicts more likely to happen.
Really? How so? That seems kind of counterintuitive.
Well, think about it this way. If decision makers believe that AI gives them a clear advantage, you know that they can fight and win wars more quickly and with fewer casualties on their side, they might be more willing to use military force in the first place.
That's a really sobering thought. It's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. The very existence of AI makes war more likely, even if it's meant to make war less destructive.
Exactly. And that's why these open and honest conversations about the ethical implications of AI in warfare are absolutely crucial. We need clear guidelines, international norms, to ensure that it's used responsibly and we prevent those unintended consequences.
But how do you control something as intangible as AI? It's not like a physical weapon you can regulate and monitor.
That's a very valid concern. But we can't just give up and say that AI is going to lead to more war and suffering. It's our responsibility to shape its future, to make sure that it's used for good, not for destruction.
It's interesting. As we talk about all this, I keep thinking about those images of the trenches in Ukraine. It's just a stark reminder of the human cost of war, no matter how advanced the technology is.
Absolutely. And it really underscores how important it is that we find peaceful solutions to conflict. War should always be the last resort, never the first option.
Well said. So we've talked about the tactical advantages of AI, the ethical concerns, and the potential for both good and bad outcomes. But what about the bigger picture? How is AI changing the very nature of warfare?
Well, it's blurring the lines between war and peace, between the military and civilian spheres. Remember when we were talking about hybrid warfare earlier?
Yeah, that modern conflicts involve this mix of cyber attacks and disinformation and economic manipulation. And of course, traditional military operations.
Right. And AI is really key to enabling this new type of warfare. These tactics can be used to destabilize a country, sow discord among the population, undermine the government, all without ever firing a shot.
It's almost like there's this constant state of low-intensity conflict, this shadowy war that's fought online and through subtle manipulation.
Exactly. And this makes it much harder to define when a war has actually started or ended. It raises all sorts of questions about what counts as an act of aggression and how we should respond to these new forms of warfare.
It's like the rules of engagement are being rewritten in real time, and we're all struggling to keep up.
That's a great way to put it. And this creates a whole new set of challenges for policymakers and military leaders and international organizations.
It's a lot to wrap our heads around, but I think it's crucial that we try. As AI continues to evolve, these challenges are only going to become more and more complex and urgent.
I completely agree. We're really navigating uncharted territory here, and we need to be both cautious and willing to adapt our thinking about war, about peace, and about the role of technology in shaping our future.
We've covered a lot of ground today. I think it's time to give our listeners a moment to think about everything we've discussed. We'll be back shortly to explore some of the potential long-term implications of AI in warfare, and we'll discuss what steps we can take to make sure we have a more peaceful and secure future. Welcome back, everyone. As we're wrapping up this deep dive, I can't help but think about the weight of history on all of this. We started by talking about Armistice Day and how it's, a solemn remembrance of the horrors of World War I, a conflict that changed the world forever.
It's remarkable, isn't it? Just over a century after that devastating war, we're seeing these echoes of trench warfare playing out in Ukraine, this brutal fight for survival. It's a sad reminder that some things about war never seem to change.
Yeah, and at the same time, we have this rapidly evolving technology like AI that's changing the very nature of war in ways we're only beginning to grasp. It's like we're caught between the past and the future, trying to make sense of both the brutality of history and the uncertainties of this new technological era.
It really is a profound paradox, and it raises so many questions about the future of warfare. We've talked about the potential benefits and risks of AI in this conflict, but what about the long-term implications? Where do you see this technology heading in the next few decades?
That's what I keep coming back to. It feels like we're on the verge of a major transformation in how wars are fought, and it's hard to predict where it's all going to lead.
I think it's safe to say that AI will become even more integrated into every aspect of warfare, from strategic planning to logistics to intelligence gathering and combat operations. We'll probably see more and more autonomous systems that can operate independently and make really complex decisions on the battlefield.
And as these systems get more and more advanced, the ethical questions around their use will only get more intense. Will we be able to put safeguards in place, to ensure that humans always have control over these incredibly powerful technologies?
That's the big question, isn't it? And honestly, I don't think there's an easy answer. But I do think we need to have a global conversation about the ethical implications of AI in warfare. A conversation that includes governments and militaries, of course, but also scientists and ethicists and everyday citizens.
It sounds like we need to take a multifaceted approach, one that takes into account the technical and ethical and societal implications of this technology.
Absolutely. We need clear international rules and guidelines for how AI is developed and used in weapons systems. That's going to require cooperation and consensus building on a global scale. It won't be easy, but it's absolutely essential.
What about the role of individuals? What can regular people do to help shape the direction of this technology?
Awareness is a big part of it. Educate yourself and others about the potential impact of AI in warfare. Demand transparency from your government and military institutions about how they're developing and using AI. Hold them accountable for making sure that these technologies are developed and deployed ethically and responsibly.
So we need to be informed and engaged and not afraid to speak up about our concerns.
Exactly. The future of warfare, and really the future of humanity, is too important to be left just to technologists and military strategists. This is a conversation that we all need to be a part of.
We started this deep dive reflecting on the sacrifices made in past wars. And I think it's only fitting that we end on a similar note.
Absolutely. As we remember all those who have suffered and continue to suffer because of war, let their sacrifices inspire us to work toward a more peaceful world, a world where technology is used for good.
It's hard to believe that we're seeing this kind of trench warfare happening in Ukraine in 2024. It's a stark reminder of the human cost of conflict. Even in this age of advanced technology, let's all take a moment to remember all the victims of this war.
Well said. Their stories remind us why this conversation about AI and the future of warfare is so vital.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring and questioning and learning.